Director McCabe, did Director Comey ever share details of his conversations with the President with you? In particular, did Director Comey say that the President had asked for his loyalty?
Sir, I'm not going to comment on conversations the Director may have had with the President. I know he's here to testify in front of you tomorrow. You'll have an opportunity to ask him those things then.
I'm asking you, did you have that conversation with Director Comey?
And I've responded that I'm not going to comment on those conversations.
Why not?
Because for two reasons. First, as I mentioned, I'm not in a position to talk about conversations that Director Comey may or may not have had with the President.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking about conversations that you had with Director Comey.
And I think that those matters also begin to fall within the scope of issues being investigated by the special counsel, and it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment on those today.
So you're not invoking executive privilege, and obviously it's not classified. This is the Oversight Committee. Why would it not be appropriate for you to share that conversation with us?
I think I'll let Director Comey speak for himself tomorrow in front of this committee.
We certainly look forward to that, but I think your unwillingness to share that conversation is an issue. Director Coates, you've said as well that it would be inappropriate to answer a simple question about whether the President asked for your assistance in blunting the Russia investigation. I don't care how you felt. I'm not asking whether you felt pressured. I'm simply asking, did that conversation occur?
And once again, Senator, I will say that I do believe it's inappropriate for me to discuss that in an open session.
You realize, and obviously this is not releasing any classified information, but you realize how simple it would simply be to say, no, that never happened. Why is it inappropriate, Director Coates?
I think conversations between the President and myself are, for the most part...
You seem to apply that standard selectively.
No, I'm not applying it selectively. I'm just saying I don't think it's appropriate.
You can clear an awful lot up by simply saying that never happened.
I do not share with the general public conversations that I have with the President or many of my colleagues within the administration that I believe should not be shared.
Well, I think your unwillingness to answer a very basic question speaks volumes.
It's not a matter of unwillingness,
Mr. Rosen. It is a matter of unwillingness.
It's a matter of how I share it and whom I share it to. And when there are ongoing investigations, I think it's inappropriate to.
So you don't think the American people deserve to know the answer to that question?
I think the investigations will determine that.
Mr. McCabe, I'm puzzled by your refusal to answer Senator Heinrich's question about a conversation you may have had with Director Comey. What's the basis of your refusal to answer that question?
Sir, as I stated, I think first, I can't sit here and tell you whether or not that those conversations that you're referring to.
Why not? Do you not remember them?
No, I'm sorry, sir. I don't know whether conversations along the lines that you have described fall within the purview of what the special counsel is now investigating.
Is there some prohibition in the law that I'm not familiar with that you can't discuss an item and that you've been asked directly a question?
It would not be appropriate for me, sir, to discuss issues that are potentially within the purview of the special counsel's investigation.
And that's the basis of your refusal to answer this question?
Yes, sir. And that, and knowing, of course, that Director Comey will be sitting behind this table
it's your position that the special counsel is entitled to ask you questions about this, but not an oversight committee of the United States Congress?
It is my position that I have to be particularly careful about not stepping into the special counsel's lane, as they have now been authorized by the Department of Justice.
I don't understand why the special counsel's lane takes precedence over the lane of the United States Congress and an investigative and oversight committee. Can you explain that distinction? Why does the special counsel get deference and not this committee?
Sir, I'd be happy to...
Is there some legal basis for that distinction?
I would be happy to take that matter back to discuss it more fully with my general counsel and with the department, but right now that's the...
On the record, I would like a legal justification for your refusal to answer the question today, because I think it's a straightforward question. Mm-hmm. It's not involving discussions with the President. It's involving discussions with Mr. Comey. The gentleman, Mr. Director Coates and Admiral Rogers, I think you testified, Admiral Rogers, that you did discuss today's testimony with someone in the White House?
I said I asked, did the White House intend to evoke executive privileges associated with any interactions between myself and the President of the United States?
And what was the answer to that question?
To be honest, I didn't get a definitive answer, and both myself and the DNI are still talking to
So
the White
then
House.
I'll ask
General
both
Counsel.
of you the same question. Why are you not answering these questions? Is there an invocation by the President of the United States of executive privilege? Is there or not?
Not that I'm aware of,
Then why are you not answering
because I
our
feel
questions?
it is inappropriate, Senator.
What you feel isn't relevant, Admiral. What you feel isn't the answer. The
stand
answer is,
accountable.
why are you not answering the questions? Is it an invocation of executive privilege? If there is, then let's know about it. If there isn't, answer the questions.
I stand by the comments I've made. I'm not interested in repeating myself, sir, and I don't mean that in a contentious way.
Well, I do mean it in a
Yes,
contentious
sir.
way. I don't understand why you're not answering our questions. You can't. When you were confirmed before the Armed Services Committee, you took an oath. Do you solemnly swear to give the committee the truth, the full truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. You
I
answered
do.
yes to that.
And I've also answered that those conversations were classified, and it is not appropriate in an open forum to discuss those classified conversations.
What is classified about a conversation involving whether or not you should intervene in the FBI investigation?
Sir, I stand by my previous comments.
Mr. Coates, same series of questions. What's the basis for your refusal to answer these questions today?
The basis is what I've previously explained. I do not believe it is appropriate for me to
What's the
get into
basis?
it.
I'm not satisfied with I do not believe it is appropriate or I do not feel I should answer. I want to understand a legal basis. You swore that oath to tell us the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, and today you are refusing to do so. What is the legal basis for your refusal to testify to this committee?
I'm not sure I have a legal basis, but I'm more than willing to sit before this committee and during its investigative process in a closed session and answer your question.
Well, we're going to be having a closed session in a few hours. Do you commit to me that you're going to answer these questions in a direct and unencumbered way?
Well, that closed session you're going to have in a few hours involves the staff going over the technicalities of a number of these issues and doesn't involve us. But
Well, is it your testimony that
you will
when
call-
you are before this committee in a closed session, you will answer these questions directly and unequivocally and without hesitation?
I plan to do that, but I do have to work through the legal counsel at the White House relative to whether or not they're going to exercise executive.
Admiral Rogers, will you answer these questions in a closed session?
I likewise respond as the DNI has. I certainly hope that that is what happens. I believe that's the appropriate thing. But I do have to acknowledge, because of the sensitive nature and the executive privilege aspects of this, I need to be talking to the General Counsel in the White House. I hope we come to a position where we can have this dialogue. I welcome that dialogue, sir.
I hope so, too. And I would just add in conclusion that both of you testified you had never been pressured under 3 years. I would argue that you have waived executive privilege by, in effect, testifying as to something that didn't happen. And I believe you opened the door to these questions. And it is my belief that you are inappropriately refusing to answer these questions today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Before I turn to Senator Lankford, let me say that the Vice Chairman and I have had conversations with Acting Attorney General Rosenstein when the special counsel was named. And as I had shared with the members of this committee prior to that, that as we carried out an investigation, there would come a point in time, either with an investigation that was currently ongoing at the FBI, or if there was a special counsel with the special counsel, where there would be avenues that this committee could not explore. And it was my hope that already the Vice Chair and I would have had that conversation with the special counsel. We have not. We've made the request. We intend to have it. And I think that both of us anticipated that we would reach this point at some point in the investigation. We are there where there are some things that will fall into the special counsel and or an active investigation, Vice Chairman.
Let me just say, though, that at this point, we've not had that conversation with Mr. Mueller. We've not been waived off on any subject. And the way I'm hearing all of you gentlemen is that Mr. Mueller has not waived you off from answering any of these questions. Is that correct?
I've had no conversations with Mr. Mueller. I've been out of the country for the last 9 days, and I haven't had an opportunity
Have any of
to
you
talk to him.
had, because if you've not had questions waived off with Mr. Mueller, I think, frankly, and I understand your commitment to the administration, but that Senator King, Senator Heinrich, and my questions deserve answers, and at some point, the American public deserves full answers.
I'm going to ask Mr. Rosenstein to address that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sensitive to your desire to keep our answers brief, and my full answer actually would be very lengthy. But my brief answer, from my perspective with the Department of Justice, and I've been there for 27 years, and Mr. McCabe also is a career employee of the Department of Justice, our default position is that when there's a Justice Department investigation, we do not discuss it publicly. That's our default rule, so nobody needs to.
Is that the rule for the President of the United States as well?
I don't know what.
Because that is what the questions are being asked about. Reports that nobody has laid to rest here, that the President of the United States has intervened directly in an ongoing FBI investigation, and we've gotten no answer from any of you. And frankly, we've at least heard from Director Coates and Admiral Rogers that they've not been asked to recuse an answer because of Director Mueller. And I don't understand why we can't get that answer.
So I'm not answering for Director Rogers or Director Coates. I'm answering for Director McCabe and myself with regard to the Department of Justice.